All right, hey artists. I hope you had a great long weekend, but it's time to get back into some art making. I have a kind of a weird art concept to teach you guys this week, so please with me, keep an open mind, and I think you guys are going to do great with this project. So first, I want you guys to take a look at this word. It is pronounced synesthesia, and it is what we're going to be learning about this week. The big fancy dictionary definition of synesthesia is a neurological condition in which stimulation of one sensory or cognitive pathway, for example, hearing, leads to automatic involuntary experiences in a second sensory or cognitive pathway, such as vision. So that's like a big fancy way of saying um, when one sense, like hearing or seeing or tasting, is being experienced, another one is actually triggered and also experienced as well. This can be, there's a lot of different types of synesthesia. Like, for example, if you, let's see, if you look at a picture of something, maybe you'll hear a sound that you think is associated with it, or if you see a certain color, then you might feel a certain emotion. Like if you see the color yellow, maybe you'll feel really happy, or if you see the color blue, you might feel sad or calm. Different things like that. If that makes sense. And maybe you guys have experienced this before, but the main type of synesthesia we're going to be focusing on is actually it has to do with making art. So we're going to learn about this artist down here. His name is Kandinsky. Oops. His name is Kandinsky, and he actually had a type of synesthesia in which when he listened to music, he saw different colors and shapes, and he basically took pieces of music and drew them as if they were like what they would look like if they were pieces of art, at least in his mind. So this is a piece by him. This is an abstract piece of art. And the different and you know it's abstract because you don't really know what these different kinds of shapes and lines and colors have to do with each other. They're not really making a specific picture of anything. Like if you drew a picture of a house, that's a concrete piece of art. I know that it's a house, but if I look at a piece like this, I can um, see a big giant egg yolk spilling out onto the street, and someone else could see a bunch of little figures leaving a building. So it's all open to interpretation. But this is his piece. Most of his pieces were actually inspired by pieces of music. He was really inspired by music. Um, just a little background. He was born in Moscow in Russia in 1866. So all of the music he was listening to is going to be either classical music or early jazz music. Probably classical since he's in Russia. He used color, line, and shape, also texture, to kind of communicate what he thought pieces of music may look like. He was particularly inspired by a composer by the name of Arthur Schoenberg. If you guys would like more information on him, I can post that. But I don't know much about him other than he was a classical artist that Kandinsky really, really liked. And because he was so inspired by music, Kandinsky often named his artworks after the pieces of music he was listening to, like this particular piece. Down here, we can see if this thing would go away. It's called Composition 4. I believe that's what that Roman numeral is. But if you actually look at this piece on this page, we talked about this with our traditional learners, and they all said that they thought this piece looks like it could have been inspired by a very, very fast piece of music because it has a bunch of different lines and shapes and colors going everywhere, and it kind of made them feel confused and anxious. So they figured that this was probably a faster, more chaotic piece of music. This is another piece by Kandinsky, made in the same year. And when we were talking about this in our traditional class, we decided that this was probably a little bit of a slower piece, just because of the elongated shapes, the softer brush strokes. There's less hard lines and shapes like we see in this piece here. It's more soft. Even if there are still really bright colors, they're mostly dark and blue and pink and purple, which are colors that are usually associated with a little bit more calm and sad. This is a piece from him that was from the same artist. It's actually created 10 years later, so we can see how his style really, really changed in 10 years, which is okay. And honestly, looking at this, I have no idea what kind of music he was listening to. It's a lot easier to interpret um, these kind of color blocking pieces rather than these pieces with with more defined shapes and lines. But that's just me. You might look at this and go, Miss Tenny, that is obviously a beautiful piano sonata. It's super soft and quiet and gentle. But that's just how your brain works, and it works differently than mine. But we can see here, this is another interpretation of by him of what a piece of music could look like. So, oh, actually, before I forget, this is actually a painting that I created a couple years ago for a friend who was releasing a song, and I asked him if I could create a piece using synesthesia for his cover art. So this is what I created. You guys can take your guesses to what type of song this was, maybe what genre. Um, Maybe as an extra bonus point, you can leave your um, guess in the comments of this post to guess what kind of music I was listening to for this. But yeah, I got a bunch of different stuff. I got some different textures. It's all one color, but I got a bunch of different lines going different directions, stuff like that. So, what you guys are going to be doing this week is creating a synesthetic piece of art. So, a piece of art using synesthesia, what we just talked about. And you're going to be using either color and images. You don't have to do an abstract piece. You definitely can if you want to. If you want to attempt that, but it's actually harder than you think. So, it can actually be a concrete picture of something. And you're going to recreate what you think your favorite song or album or band would look like if they were a piece of art rather than a piece of music or pieces of music. It has to fill the entire page, and please use colors if you can. If you don't have access to colors, it's okay. Just do a representation of like different images that you think of when you hear the song. So my suggestion for this is really think about a song that has some sort of significance to you. It's your favorite song. It's a song that you listen to that reminds you of someone you love or a great trip you took, different things like that. I'm going to be posting another example of one of my favorite songs and then the painting that I created alongside it, just so you guys can see a little bit of an example. But this is really up to you. These are your only guidelines. I suggest listening to the song a couple times through with your eyes closed just to get a better view of what colors and shapes and lines and images come to mind when you listen to that song. This will be due on Friday of this week, so I believe, let me check my calendar, that should be January 22nd. So January 22nd is when this is due. Please email me if you have any questions at all about this project, and please continue to comment every day on the attendance so I know who's here and who's not. And yeah, email me with any questions, and I can't wait to see what you guys do.